Hey, it's you again.
Yeah.
Where were we yesterday? I don't even remember.
We were in Portsmouth, New Hampshire yesterday. Today, we are coming at you live from the wonderful Intercontinental Barclay in New York City. But we've got a guest from Marriott today, so it's going to be a little weird. Let's have a good time.
I'm Anthony. Welcome to No Vacancy Live. That's my friend Glenn.
You're watching the #1 show in hospitality.
Hey, Anthony Melchiori, how cool is it? This is my third broadcast of the week, each one in a different state.
You are. That's why you're the rock star, brother. And I got to tell you something. You just hosted an event, a pretty swanky event.
Yeah.
About
the
design.
Hospitality Leadership and Design Conference.
Yeah. And you did an amazing
Thanks,
job.
man.
And it's funny. It's the first time I've walked into a place like that and sat down and, and I was just an audience member.
Yeah.
And I didn't have a suit on, and I felt naked. I felt
And
so
I
weird.
did have a suit on.
like even being in the building of a nice hotel, I always have to have my suit on, but I don't have a suit on. It was weird.
Yeah.
But you really did an amazing job. You
Thanks,
made
man.
it fun. You made it interesting. And what was the most amazing thing is typically when I walk into a room and you announce me, people kind of clap and they know who I am. How many people clap when you say, "Hey, and Anthony Melchiori's in the room"?
I think I'm only like 3, but I think it must be.
No, I think it was 1.
I think it must have been my fault for not being loud enough when I was introducing you or something.
So I was like, "Yeah, don't do that again."
Yeah, all right.
But no, you really did a great job, and we really learned something. And what I really liked what they said is they're really understanding the connection of each generation, and that Brad Wilson was really amazing with his where he made that real distinction of a guest that goes to the Ace and a guest that is going to his new hotel, and that a concierge at the Mark Hotel, the Ace Hotel, is maybe something that they're looking forward to, as opposed to the Gen Z or what's the next?
Yeah, that's Gen Z. Or known as Zillennials, whatever it might be. Zillennials, people are starting to call them now. Yeah, because we had the Millennials now because of their Generation Z. Zillennial. I know.
I can't. I'm sorry.
I don't even.
But they see that as an impediment, whereas they say, "Hey, I have it on my phone. Just let me do everything on my phone." And I don't think the people at some of the brands that are a little bit older are getting that.
Yes, I agree. Now, we're going to be bringing in our amazing guest in just a second, Dan Flannery of Edition Hotels. But Anthony, I just want to say happy Veterans Day. And thank you so much for your service. We really
Thank you very
appreciate
much,
it.
man. I was in the Air Force and proud to serve, best 5 years of my life. And I just met a Marine that wanted to grab a picture with me. And I said, no. And he said, why? I said, because you used to beat me up. But actually, that's not fun.
Well, it's true.
He owns an architectural firm now called Jarhead Architecture.
Oh, that's pretty cool. All right. To be fair, he did not take a picture with him. I took the picture of them. So it all worked out in the end. All right. Let's bring on to the show Mr. Dan Flannery, making a triumphant return last year in January of 2021. Dan, welcome back, man.
Thank you very much. Good to be back. And Anthony, thanks for your service.
It's so great to see you, man. So, we're at this leadership and design conference, and it's really cool. And your brand happens to be very focused on that sort of thing. And I had the honor this morning, guys, to do a keynote speech where instead of talking about the blah, blah, blah stuff that we always talk about, I talked about some other issues, about things that I think are never going to change, and about some lessons that were reinforced during the pandemic. So, Dan, I'd be curious to know from you, how are you thinking about design and creating the right aesthetic in your properties, such as the one that you were hoping to be in Iceland today, that is really reflective of, where we are in the present?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, our brand is grounded in great design. It's a big priority for us. It's no different, quite honestly, than it was before the pandemic.
Yeah, sorry, he didn't hear you. He didn't have his headphones on. He's like, "Why can't I hear you?" You just start that part again, sir.
No, I was saying it's really no different than it was pre-pandemic. We're trying to do great design that really elicits a reaction from people and makes them feel better and lift their spirits. And we have a certain design aesthetic, but the objective is that we really get a great reaction. We focus a lot, as you know, on great lighting, great landscaping, great audiovisual, really the right FF&E, and make it appropriate for the cities that we're in.
Right. All right, so I'd like to say a few things that I talked about this morning and see what both of you guys are thinking about this, whether or not I'm right, whether or not I'm wrong. So my whole thesis, and I think Anthony would agree with this, you can't change human nature, but you can continue to play into it. And things that won't ever change is I fundamentally believe that travel now is more than a right for people than ever. And this is going beyond the commonly held line of pent-up demand, pent-up demand. I think that the way culture is finally shifting with the accelerations of trends, people's innate desire to travel and circumstances are going to allow them to do so, to do more. So I think we're in for a really robust time going into the future. But Dan, it has to be highly catered to people's psychographics. How do you see about that?
It is. We're in the middle of it. It's begun already. I'm sure you've heard the phrase that's being used a lot now, revenge travel, that people are getting out there because they're just so tired of being restricted and pent up. And we were seeing this even before November 8th when the U.S. opened their borders again. But our resort destinations, anybody that's doing leisure business is having record years already. And business travel is starting to recover behind it, and group is starting to kind of join along as well. But leisure travel in particular, and kind of blending that with business, is it really is just driving a very, very strong recovery now.
Anthony?
Yeah, absolutely agree. And if you're not tapping into it now and you're not understanding that, and you're just going to be left behind. And I think what was the only good thing to come out of the pandemic was I think it kind of leveled all of us. So we had to rethink. We had to really pay attention to our consumer, and we had to understand what they want and what they don't want. So I think in the long term, it was one of the most tragic events of our lifetime. But for a hospitality industry, I think it's gotten us 3 or 4 years ahead of where we would have been. Now, I want to ask a question. Now, you're in Iceland.
No, he's not. He's in upstate New York, but was supposed to be in Iceland. I just found that out.
No. I was supposed to be in Iceland, but I'm now in Sarasota, so I'm visiting.
Sarasota, not even upstate New York. So, Anthony, I already told him that he needs to fly us out to Iceland next time he's there.
Well, I've been to Iceland, and I was there probably 4 years ago, before they were really ready to bring travelers. I mean, it was so overwhelming. Right. To be a guest in Iceland. I loved it, but they weren't ready for prime time. So now you're bringing a hotel to Iceland?
We opened about 5 weeks ago.
And where'd you open?
Right downtown, so right on the harbor next to, if you remember the Harpa Performance Center there, beautiful architecture there, big building. We were literally right next door to Harpa.
Oh, that's amazing. And there weren't a lot of hotels around there, or at least any luxury hotels or even mid-level hotels. It was just a lot of people trying to figure out how to sell an apartment.
And almost no branded hotels. I mean, it's amazing.
I didn't see any.
It's on a lot of people's travel lists, very high up there, just because of some of the things you can do, the Northern Lights and glaciers. And
I love Iceland. It's just great to have your hotel there because they desperately need it. And how's it performing?
Well, it just opened. It's heading into the off season now. We haven't opened things fully here, but it will really start to take off this spring when we get everything open. I was hoping to do this week from the roof bar. That when it's dark, when the volcano's erupting, you can actually see the orange glows in the sky from the volcanoes when it's going.
Yeah, so. we saw it. We were able. We actually did a show there. I think it was Extreme Hotels.
Yeah.
And so if you're bored and you want to go on Discovery Plus, look at our Extreme Hotels. And when we went to Iceland, absolutely gorgeous. We got to see everything that we hope to see. And if you ever want to know a story about me almost falling off a cliff and into a hole and peeing in my rubber suit, I'll tell you all about it.
Right. Oh, hold on. Hey, colleague, he is in Sarasota, Florida, but we are talking about Iceland, where he was supposed to originally be today, where their newest edition hotel is located.
You just took a really interesting moment.
I know.
About me peeing in a rubber suit and then completely just.
So sorry. I want to hear about you peeing in a rubber.
No, we're not going to talk about that. I just want to leave it out there as a cliffhanger.
I like that particular cliffhanger. We don't get enough of that kind of stuff. So
when you almost fall 6,000 feet to your death, or 600 feet. I almost fell 600 feet.
Wow.
What happened?
I felt when you're going up the mountain and the gentleman is teaching you how to put the pick in and climbing. So I'm already scared and I don't want to do it. And my just peer pressure from my crew, I'm starting to do it. And apparently when you see snow, like white just because you don't see snow, you see ice. But when you see snow, that means there's a hole underneath because it hasn't basically formed the ice yet. So you don't put your foot in that hole. I accidentally put my foot in that hole and I fell.
Oh.
Half my body fell through. Thank God I was tethered to the gentleman and he was tethered to the ice and he pulled me out and I had a rubber suit on and it was raining. And then later I realized I used the restroom in my rubber suit because I got so scared.
Dude, I can't even imagine.
And I will just tell you, it was the most intense anger I've ever had at my director because I did not want to go up that mountain because of the weather and because I'm just afraid of heights. And he thought it'd be a great shot. So I probably yelled at him for about 3 days.
Well, what I would recommend is if you go in the spring, last May we went before we opened the hotel.
Right.
The volcano is a 45-minute car ride to the base of the mountain, and it's about an hour and a half hike up with a guide. So it's and we wanted to see it at night, so we started the hike at 10:30 at night because then the sun goes down at 11:45 p.m. And you can get we got within a quarter mile of it. When it was erupting, you could feel the heat on your face.
Wow.
It was really the most sensational thing I've ever seen in my life.
I agree with you. I got to go to see Kilauea in Hawaii, and it was really cool to be like literally just feet from a volcano. Of course, Kilauea is more of a drip, drip, drip kind of volcano as opposed to what you would see on Discovery Channel, for example. But it was really cool because it looked like the Blob. So it'd be like it would move forward for like a foot or two, then it would like kind of harden on the surface, then it would break through and go through again. And man, nature's just freaking amazing. So I can ask you, Dan,
the people who really want to get out there because there's very few opportunities to see an active volcano in person.
Yeah.
And I was talking to the mayor of Reykjavik, and he was talking about the opening of the hotel. He said, "Is there anything that we can do for you?" I said, "Just keep that volcano turned on because the number of people who see it is pretty spectacular." He laughed and he said, "You want to help me figure out what to do with all the lava?"
Well, you could get new land, and then you could build more hotels and improve the travel business.
So I have to ask you: did you have the shark?
What?
Did you have the shark? You know their delicacy, their local delicacy.
Oh,
Shark there?
no, yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't try.
Just ask any restaurant for the local delicacy, and they ferment shark. And Anthony Bourdain and Andrew Zimmer, I believe, both said, and I agreed because I also had to taste it on live TV, and that it is the worst thing I've ever put in my mouth. Now, with that said, when you're there, you appreciate it, but it is it's an acquired taste. But I will tell you, the people that live there are the strongest, most resilient, nicest people I think I've met. Just incredible.
Yeah, amazing culture there.
And do you know that a lot of the strongmen come from Iceland?
No, I thought like Magnus von Magnus and those guys. I thought
a lot of them come from, and also the CrossFit people come from Iceland.
Wow, that's really interesting. Listen to this. Mike McManus says in 2012 there were 650,000 tourists to Iceland. In 2019, 1.8 million. Man, you're right. They can't really handle that. Dan, that must give you.
I think the population there is only 300,000 people, so that's tourism's pretty significant.
Yeah, and what I like about it is, like sometimes you'll go to a place and you see tourists doing things that you just wish they wouldn't do because they're not respecting the land and not respecting the culture. You don't see that in Iceland. Like everybody adapts relatively immediately, and I don't know if it's the way the locals show up, but it seemed that everybody got on board really, really quick, and everybody really, truly appreciated it. And I think, people used to going to Europe or going to Asia, but when you go to Iceland, you feel, I actually explained it, that I felt like I was on the moon, and I felt like I was in Alaska, and I felt like I was in 3 or 4 different places, and it was the most interesting place I've ever been.
Yeah,
I agree.
Dan, you get to go to a lot of interesting places with developing these brands. Where are you looking at right now? What are some of the deals that you already have in the pipeline around the world?
Yeah, so we're a lot of these obviously paused during COVID, but everything's going at the same time. Everything wants to try to open. Every city wants to try to get open now. So
it's almost like, Dan, sorry to interrupt, but it's almost like they should have continued, because if they were opening now-ish, like your hotel, you're going to be in a really good position.
I think that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But obviously, when construction had to halt in most places, that set back their schedules. But so we opened Reykjavik about 5 weeks ago. We're going to open 8 more hotels in the next 12 months. Which is significant for us. We're going to go from 12 to 20.
That's huge.
In short order, yeah. So the next one, this will be interesting for you, Anthony. I thought, guys like us had seen everything in this business. We have the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia that decided in June that they really want to have an Edition hotel, and they want to host a Formula One race December 3rd and 4th in Jeddah. So they are designing, building, and opening an Edition hotel, a Formula One racetrack, and a marina in 5.5 months.
Well, have you been in touch with Jerry Inzarello?
Yeah. Oh, yes. He's involved with a different project that we're doing in Saudi. Yeah. He's not in this one.
Oh, he's not on that project?
No, but there are 2 others we're doing in Saudi, Red Sea and Amala, and I think he's got involvement in both of those that are coming. But those
we had the opportunity to actually, because I had the owner of the Mark on that panel. We did a thing with Jerry at the Mark where we looked at some of those plans, and what was really amazing, and I'm sure your Edition will be like that too. It really looks like it was going to be built like 2,000 years ago or something like that, with the very of location design.
And apparently when he opens one, he's inviting me and Glenn to our podcast from there.
Fingers crossed, man.
Fingers great.
Crossed. I would love to get to go see Saudi Arabia and some other cool places. So what's it like? What's it like then working in a place like Saudi Arabia, which is so different than North America, for example? How do you have to change the way you interact? What are some of the things that you have to consider when saying, hey, this would be a great brand to add to your country?
And have you been on the ground in Saudi Arabia yet? Have you been there?
I have not on the Jeddah site yet. I've had some of my team out there, but I've been to Saudi several times over the years in Riyadh and Jeddah. It is, the first thing, obviously, for a lifestyle brand is that there's no alcohol there. So, the bars are, kind of punch bars or mocktails.
But they won't even have that in hotels, because, like in Dubai, they're allowed in hotels, for example. But
not yet. There's some talk that may be coming in the future, but right
that
now
doesn't help you with planning.
No. We're actually, building back bars there and those types of things, so that we've got that type of same social. They still love to socialize, right? It's a very social culture and experience. But we're taking our typical approach to design. Great service is great service anyway. So anywhere you go, so training is.
So how does that really express itself in the design when you don't have as much emphasis and focus on the bar?
Yeah, so when we've seen our hotels, right? We don't want to hit you over the head with the local culture. We're doing hotels in Mexico. It's not going to scream Mexico. There'll be some really subtle Mayan influence in those. We're opening in Madrid. There'll be some subtle Spanish influence in the music and some of the styling of the hotel, some of the art. But our design approach is still do great timeless design. And the F&B depends on where you go, right? If you go to Barcelona, you probably have to do Spanish cuisine. If you go to other cities, we're doing high-end Mexican with Enrique Alvara in Madrid. So we haven't announced who we're working with in Jeddah, but it's an international chef that's pretty well known. That we'll do there. So
you want to just tell us now, Dan?
So Dan, with all the traveling,
you keep it to yourself.
With all the traveling you do, why don't you take some time off, become a pilot, and just buy a 747 and just fly yourself to these places? Because I'd imagine you've got a couple of million miles under your belt.
Yeah, I sure do. I think that would probably not really fly with Marriott policy if I had my own jet, though.
I don't know. I mean, I hear John Travolta's giving lessons, so it's pretty good. Pretty good deal to go do that. So that's really interesting. You have to think. You don't want to hit people over the head with the design. Kind of keep it subtle, but at the same time, it kind of has to be culturally relevant, because you're not just looking for folks that are coming from other countries. You're looking for folks that are within country or even within the neighborhood that are there. So how do you go ahead and balance that sort of feeling to make a place comfortable for locals as well as for international travelers?
It's subtle. Like we're working on a great project in Rome. It's in a very old historic building with this beautiful courtyard and great architecture. And it will feel like addition. Our approach to the aesthetics and the furniture and finishes there, but through the artwork and through through F&B sometimes. We're partnering with another one I can't tell you yet, but a great local partner there that we will be doing very locally relevant Italian food. It was hard for us in Rome. We went to a lot of restaurants there. They were all doing great Roman cuisine, and they were filled with American tourists. And so we had to work hard to figure out where do the locals go,
Right.
and how do we get them, and what are they really looking for?
So what are they looking for?
They're looking for a kind of interesting twist on Roman Italian cuisine. They love that cuisine there. So that's kind of what we're going to do in the restaurant there.
Interesting. So what else do they have on the docket with these 8 properties opening?
So Madrid will be March, which will be spectacular, and that's coming. I mentioned Jeddah before that. We think Tampa will open in April or May. Heading there Friday to go, I guess tomorrow, to go check on that project.
And is there any busier market right now than Tampa?
Oh boy.
Tampa's had a strong year. They're really exploding, and they're already doing numbers that exceeded what we projected in some of the other hotels in that market. So we're pretty excited about that destination, which is unique.
I love that you're saying Reykjavik, Saudi Arabia, Mexico, and Tampa. But it makes so much sense at the same time.
Tampa's great partners and a really, really good project there. And we have announced our chef partner there is John Fraser, who did Nick's and Dovetail, and he did New York and West Hollywood with us as well. So multiple Michelin star winning chef, and he's got a great concept plan there. And then we have Ginza, we have Riviera Maya, we have Doha. We've got we're moving around next year.
That's pretty cool. So what's it feel like? Because now it feels like the brand's got some stable footing. It's off on the go. How does that change how you're being able to connect with investors to create new properties?
It's really taken off. It was, our story. We kind of started in the Great Recession. It was a bit of a start and stop, and then it was.
It was real. The first one out of the gate was really rough on you guys.
Yeah, and it was just, we were opening one hotel a year for a long time. Then we did 4 in 18, 2 in 19, and then nothing in 20 because of the pandemic. And now we're going to do 9 in a year. So, but a combination of that scale, some of the recognition that we received in the last couple of months and last year, Forbes called us the hottest hotel brand in the world. Condé Nast about a month ago named our Sanya Hotel in China the best resort in China. The whole country of China. So that kind of coverage and just starting to get more brand awareness from having more flags flying just has the development interest at a level that we've never seen before. And so
I find it very interesting from a consumer perspective that you have the brand addition, but you have the pipeline that no one knows about. And that's really why you're able to really go pretty fast. So do you find that having that brand, outside of your parent brand, is helpful? That people are looking for it, not because, again, whether it's Marriott or IHG or Hilton, a lot of people, especially maybe a little older generation, they have a standard in their mind of what that is. And then when you have that addition with the pipeline, like how, is that a big reason for the success?
It is. Now that people can go and see those destinations, people go to Miami, they see that hotel and say, okay, I get it now. This is what I want. Abu Dhabi, we opened in 2018. That's been a big deal for us in the Middle East because people can go there. Now we've got, a project in Dubai that's coming. We've got the 3 that I mentioned in Saudi Arabia. We've got Doha. We opened the first one in Tokyo in September of 2020 in the pandemic.
Cool.
We're opening Ginza in Tokyo probably in the next 6 months or so. So
I mentioned I'm going to Tokyo next summer. We're totally going to do a live show from there. That'll be awesome.
On your way to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
So it does help. People can see it and experience it, and it's really bringing a lot of development interest to people who say, hey, I've got investors, I've got a location, I want to talk to you about what it would take. That's
cool. What's really interesting with Marriott is you've got 7 different brands that are in the luxury category. Of course, there's W, Ritz-Carlton, Luxury Collection, St. Regis, JW Marriott, Bulgari, and your property edition. One of the surprising things is how clearly delineated each of those brands really are in other categories with other companies, and I'm not necessarily seeing that. How do you make sure you stay purely what you are and don't step on the toes of others? And of course, at the Hospitality Leadership and Design Conference, we were using the word swim lanes again like crazy today.
Yeah. So, I learned luxury from my time working at Ritz-Carlton, as you know, and that's a very, very strong, iconic brand with a very specific culture. And, that drives their independence. St. Regis as well. And, we had the benefit of creating this brand with Ian Schrager. And, we had very specific conversations about what the brand was going to stand for, what our core values are, what that means, how it applies from not only just design and culture, but vocabulary and telephone etiquette and what you name venues. And so, it's a brand has to stand for something. And, you really have to be committed to that. We have the benefit of, we're not really matrixed. We're kind of a hybrid SBU within the company. And so I have a team that all we do is wake up and go to sleep thinking about the Edition brand and what that should be and how to make it, better every time we open a hotel.
So what is the point of view for Edition if folks don't know, so they can understand clearly what you're all about?
So it's luxury lifestyle. It is, on the luxury side, obviously you need to have a product, whether you're talking about room size or amenities or services that appeals to a luxury traveler, the real top luxury traveler that pays those high rates. And you have to have a service offering that supports that as well, because it's not a commodity, right? It's not just you build a suite, people are going to book the suite. You have to have services and standards that meet the needs of that guest. On the lifestyle side for us, though, it is whether you use the term boutique or lifestyle, it means a different approach to design. Right. It also, I think, what's misunderstood is that lifestyle hotels, for us at least, should not be trendy. It should be timeless. We're at the London edition is the same design and is very successful that it was almost 9 years ago when we opened it. The same restaurant. And so we're not, redesigning them every 6 years or, doing, changing the design at 10 years. So, we want something that is timeless, that's built on really great architecture and kind of finishes and styles that are timeless. I guess the best way to
So my question for you is, if someone is looking at developing a brand, and a person like yourself who's been around for a long time and done several, when you locked it in, when you first sat down, you're like, okay, you sat with Ian, you sat with your team, and you're like, okay, we got it. When did you realize you really got it? Like, because when you sit at the table and you say, okay, this is who we are, and then once you put it into the public domain and it starts working a little bit, when do you really say, how long did it take you to lock it and go, okay, now we really got it?
I think after we had the first one open, you could see how it carried through to the product, and the more important than the product is the reaction from the public to the product. So we sat down. One of the first meetings I ever had with Ian, he took out a yellow legal pad and he wrote. He said, before we pick a pencil or select an iron or a hairdryer or name restaurants or anything, do design. He said we have to talk about what this brand is going to be. And he wrote down 3 words. He wrote down foundation, philosophy, and ideals. And he talked about what he meant by that. The foundation is, what are the core values that it's going to be built off of? It doesn't matter how many. It matters what they mean for the product, what they mean on the service side, what they mean with training. And, the philosophy, almost like the credo of Ritz-Carlton, is kind of putting that in context to say, how is this going to feel for the guests? What are the things that we're going to do well? What are we going to stand for? What kind of reaction is it going to elicit from the public? And then the ideals are kind of some of on the execution side. What are the things that you have to do over and over and over consistently well if you're going to deliver great service? And how do you communicate those, reinforce those, get employees to get really excited, not just committed, but excited and proud of those things. And then pull that through, and it's like creating a cult, right? But I think to your point, great story from Tokyo. We opened the hotel. We had to do the press conference virtually because we couldn't get into the country, and we would normally do the press tours in person so we could see their reaction.
Right.
We couldn't do it, so And the next morning, because of time difference, I got an email from the owner who was thrilled because when they took the press into the Jade Room, this restaurant that we're doing with Tom Akins there, she said that you could literally hear them gasp when they walked into the Jade Room.
Awesome.
And then she said when they walked into the Gold Bar, they erupted in applause. They just started, spontaneously clapping for the space with nothing in there, no service, no employees yet, no music, no uniforms, just really getting that reaction to the product. So that's the goal, right? It sets the bar pretty high.
So what percentage, to be more specific, when you sit down and you write those philosophies and you have the design and you open it, how much does it change from the initial, like we got it, and then you open it and you're like, okay, we have to make, several adjustments, or there are no adjustments, and it was just like you got it right and boom, done.
Different on the product side than the service side. So one of the things that is really unique, was a different experience for me with Edition than anything I've ever done before, is that Ian and the design team will style the spaces and select the art after the hotel's finished, not in the design plan. They don't come up with a design plan and say, hey, this picture's going 18 inches over this credenza and that's where you're hanging it. And they'll select those after the space is finished, where you can go in and not just look at it on plans, but feel it in real life and in 3D. And so in Reykjavik, for example, they hired a rock sculptor to do this art piece right in the lobby that they selected and had installed after the lobby was finished and done. We're working on. There's a whole wall that was blank in the lobby bar, and I said, what are we doing here? They came back and they said, we talked to this theatrical lighting company out of Europe, Isometrics, that we work with. And they've got this plan for this very subtle. I want to describe it right because it could be, we thought it could be tacky if it wasn't done well, but it's really interesting. It's a very subtle 3D projected art along the wall that's of the Northern Lights on the wall. So things that are really locally relevant that are done. So all of those things are selected and styled and set, after the hotel's finished. It's almost like Ian says, it's almost like a woman getting dressed, where it's one thing to pick out the dress, but then what shoes are you going to wear, what belt are you going to wear, how are you going to do your hair, what kind of makeup are you going to wear for the night.
Right.
So those things all change and evolve at the very end of the process there in our hotels. But the formula on the service side and training the employees, we've talked about the countdown process in opening a hotel. That never changes, right? It's part revival, it's part training, it's part accountability for the staff.
Hand-to-hand combat,
right? So Anthony, you want to gasp for a second? Let's take a look at the Jade Room real quick. How cool is
do I have to applaud?
That's the blue room, actually.
Oh, the blue room. That looks freaking awesome, though. Sorry, I typed in Jade Room and this is what came up, but at least I got the right hotel, right?
Yeah, there's the Jade Room has this beautiful terrace that overlooks Tokyo Tower.
Yeah, no, I don't have any more pictures right now. I have to go grab that. All right, we got a question. We got a couple of questions coming in. Our friend Kyle is saying, hey, domestically, what makes your brand stand out between this and a W and a JW to a potential investor in a market like Orlando or a leisure market, DC, that sort of thing? JWs, I know I've been to, I think, 3 of them very recently, 2 back to back. I went from one in Edmonton down to one in Phoenix. They're very focused on the conferences. I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, they are. JW is a great brand. They will do much more with probably with business travel and certainly with group than we will. When we're programming one of our hotels, we'll put meeting space in to the extent that we need it to draw group business, but we're not really built off of that.
We're not looking to host 2,000 people.
No, but we'll do a couple of bars. We'll do, we have a nightclub in Times Square that called the Paradise Club that, most other places would have probably programmed that as a ballroom or meeting space. So we're very restaurant and bar heavy. The lifestyle hotels, I think, need that energy to create the personality of your hotel. But also if you do that well, in terms of your question, Kyle, about investors, I think that if you can combine rate premiums they get on the room side from really delivering a luxury experience, if you can add to that kind of disproportionate and kind of punch above your weight in restaurant and bar sales per square foot and profit per square foot, it's a pretty compelling story in any market.
Yeah, Anthony, did you
Yeah, I just find it fascinating that I've been in this business for so long, and I love marketing and I love design, and I just learned so much in just this few minute conversation. One, how Ian thinks, how you launched the brand, and I love the fact that, and I've been in rooms with Ian, and I haven't heard that before of how he goes about it, and I love those 3 words, which I'm sure Dr. Producer Suzanne wrote for me and is texting me right now, so I don't forget them. And I love the fact, and I haven't done this before, where you don't even worry about the artwork. You don't even worry about those major pieces that really kind of are the first things you notice when you walk into a hotel, and the things that make you feel something. And I find that fascinating. The first time I've heard that.
Yeah, it is. I mean, even down to whether we don't specify in most spaces whether there's going to be, in public space, whether there's going to be drapes or shears in certain locations until we walk in and say, what should it be? If you've been into the Terrace Bar at Times Square, it's this beautiful kind of vaulted Venetian plaster ceiling. And he decided at the end with the team to put these red velvet drapes at the end of it and upholster the bar stools in red velvet and make the uplights all red. And it's this glowing, kind of really sexy, interesting space that, it's just the bar, but it got finished and refined based on how it felt at the end of the process. It's really...
I'm sorry.
I've never done this, and I've finally shot some footage that I'll have to show you guys when we're finished with it. But I always wanted to take the before and after, so I took a full video of Reykjavik before it was styled, and I'm actually going to have him and the team do some voiceovers of what they saw in particular spaces. Sometimes it's lighting, sometimes it's landscaping, sometimes it's art about what doesn't work. Sometimes it's a back bar,
right?
And what their eye was drawn to that they saw. When they wanted to change something and how it evolved, and then show the after picture.
And what I love about this is that you take someone like Ian, who's iconic in our industry and really started the lifestyle brands, years ago, and you bring him into the Marriott culture, and you're depending on him to really have that eye and that understanding. And I think we were saying the other day how the brands have really helped the hotel industry in the last 20 years. And that just elevates everyone, because we've been in the trenches for 35 years and we know good design, and we have a good eye, and we have connections, and we can do a lot. But when you have someone that's so iconic and someone who's really one of the greatest visionaries of the hotel industry on your payroll as a partner, really thinking outside the box, and sometimes scary, kind of being in the room with him sometimes can be scary. and
Tell me about it.
What's that?
I said, tell me about it.
It's fascinating. Is he still involved in every detail?
It's remarkable. It doesn't matter whether it's naming a venue or doing a logo or what's the angle of the photography that we're shooting. What chef partner we're going to do for particular spaces. He's a perfectionist, and he's a real entrepreneur, but and he's a visionary, and he believes that if you hear him in interviews, he talks about every detail being a matter of life and death, and it really is to him. I've never met somebody.
I'm sorry.
I've met people who want to design a nice hotel that people walk in and say, "Wow, this is beautiful." I've never met somebody before that says, we're not finished until you can get spontaneous applause from people walking into a space. That's where he's setting the bar.
Yeah, I always tell my team, we haven't done our job until somebody walks into a room or somebody leaves and says, "Wow." And so, wow to me is the word. And I love the fact that you said it's every detail is a matter of life and death. Somebody once told me that, Anthony, service isn't life and death, and I was like, oh yes, it is. And
Sure.
That's how I look at service. I look at it is life and death. You didn't handle pencil to that person the right way. Okay, I'll do it better next time. Okay, you'll do it better next time. Or you won't, and that'll be a problem. Or the way you point, or the way you talk to someone, or the way you interact. And to me, it is life and death, because those moments can change everything for that consumer. Just walking into this hotel here today, like I remember what this hotel was years ago.
And once again, we're here at the Intercontinental New York Barclay.
Yeah, I was very comfortable when I walked in here. I was comfortable in the meeting room. When was the last time you sat in the meeting room and you lost concentration because you're looking around and going, wow, those are nice chairs. That's a nice chandelier. Wow, that's a nice carpet. That's really nice. And so it's really, every brand is really elevating itself. And it's, it's great. I wish it was around when
Right.
when I was.
And just for a little context for everybody, this particular hotel, the Intercontinental New York Barclay, reopened in 2016 after closing for 2.5 years to really redo and reinvent this this property. But Dan, you don't have that problem because all of yours are relatively new. So we got another question here from Mike Bales. Who in these hotels is responsible for maintaining the same high level of service throughout the world while at the same time keeping the identity of the country or city the hotel is in? And I think they mean this from service, not from design, which we already discussed as more of a subtle nod to the locations.
Right. Yeah, look, it's important in both. I'll answer the one you didn't ask first, but on the product side, we do 5 lookbooks. We leave pictures behind of every single space, day look and night look, and how it's supposed to be set as part of the brand standards audit. It's, there's a lot of accountability there to make sure that those things don't change and get involved. We don't want a housekeeper to play designer and say, I know you designed the tissue box on the shelf under the vanity, but we think it's more convenient for the guest up on the counter, right? So we set those details. On the service side, I've always believed, and I really learned this through Ritz-Carlton, that there's 5 or 6 things you need to do exceptionally well to deliver great service. You have to have a culture that gets people excited about service and buying into that idea, or your service is going to become transactional, which is not luxury service, right? So that's number 1. 2 is you have to have a technical training program that is really well thought out, that's way more sophisticated than, okay, Anthony, you're following Dan for 3 days and then you're going to get your own station in the restaurant. That doesn't work. That's a telephone game, right? So you've got to have, we have certifications and tests. We ask you every single question we can possibly think of that you have to have committed to memory to go on the floor, and you have to get an 85% passing grade to be able to pass and get on the floor. So, and if I'm a waiter, until I sit down and memorize the table numbers and the seat numbers in a restaurant, I'm going to come to the table and say, who gets the chicken salad? So
right.
It's so for getting that kind of commitment on the technical side of training is key. And then there's 2 or 3 other things you have to do well.
I was just
the level of detail there is crazy, right?
I was just at a hotel,
Yeah.
very fancy hotel, and it was a very expensive check for a couple of people for lunch, and I didn't mind that because I was picking up the check. But they did the the auctioneer, who gets this, who gets that. I literally almost came out of my chair. It's like I am paying all this money simply for that level of service, not to ask. There's 2 people at the table. Who gets the chicken salad? Come on.
Right.
Yeah,
but
and we've been talking a lot about that on our podcast, where if we don't start investing in service, I just did a Q&A keynote a couple of days ago, and I said, I don't see the real double down on training and service. And it's really happy to hear that your brand is really understanding that, and that, that you have to pass a test to get on the floor it's so necessary.
And by the way, we will be dedicating an entire podcast to chicken salad chat or later on. In case anyone
I think that you really have to commit things to memory to be successful in your job. There's a finite number of things you have to know in any job, whether you're a concierge or a dishwasher or a sales manager. But what makes people study, the reason we studied in college was the threat of the exam, right? We pulled the all-nighter for final exams, and that's when so unless you have that accountability, we tell people up front, we say, here's your training manual, the test's in the back, it's got all the answers in there so you can study, because we're not picking out 50 sample questions to ask you. If you're a concierge, you probably have 260 in yours. How long does it take to get to the airport? What's the house doctor? What time's the spa closed? All the things that you want them to know. That you can't download a program into their brain. There's no shortcuts on that.
And what
process.
that does, it allows you to show up more confident.
Absolutely.
And there's nothing more important than standing on the floor and knowing you're fully loaded, that you're fully engaged with the customer because you have all the information.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I think service has suffered is because they don't have the knowledge, and they want to do well, but they get nervous. If you're confident, I know when I've had all the information I need, I can do anything. And I know when I don't have the information I need, and how uncomfortable I feel, and how I feel like that I shouldn't be in the room.
You put a new waiter on the floor and you let them get kind of hammered with questions from a guest. I have peanut allergies. What can I not eat on the menu? I don't know.
Right.
I'll ask the chef.
I've never had anything on the menu. I love that. So what do you think of the steak? I don't know. I don't eat steak.
Yeah,
I've
I
never
don't
had
eat
it.
Yeah.
I had another person. It's
Right.
like they don't let us eat in the dining room. I'm like, what?
Right.
It's like they don't let us eat the food. I was like, oh my God, I want to kill myself.
I know for sure. And since we're having that category, my favorite one of those is when I say, "Hey, what would you recommend?" And they say, "Well, everything is good."
Oh,
Right.
But I do like the waitress. I was in a diner recently after a softball game, and I said to the waitress, I don't know, I can't remember what I ordered. She goes, I was like, but I really like that. She goes, I was like, she's like, you're not going to get that. I said, okay, I'll take the cheeseburger.
Yeah, that makes sense. Hey Dan, we've got a hard out at 1:00 at the top of the hour because we've got to get back to this event. We got other things going on, but I would like you to take the opportunity. Any final thoughts? Anything that you want people to come away with this conversation? And don't worry, we're going to get you back on again next year.
No, I appreciate the opportunity anytime to talk about the Edition brand. I think that a lot of you obviously have a massive following for the two of you in our industry, and I think too many people have kind of bailed out of our industry because of the pandemic and
Right.
all of the layoffs that happened. But it's still a great business. I started in this business as a busboy when I was 18 years old.
That's awesome.
And it's not an uncommon story. I used to think it was unique, but if you look at most of the general managers in our business and above and AVPs, they grew up through this business. You can't say that about a lot of businesses. You're not going to start in a law firm as a law clerk and become a partner, or admin. You're not going to start in the mailroom at a hospital and become a brain surgeon, right? So it's a unique business that you can start in the entry level, and if you work hard and you have great interpersonal skills, that you can really create a great career for yourself. So I hope people reconsider and leave Amazon and come back into the hotel business.
We were just at Colwyn Hotels out in Boston, and Julie Scott, who's the revenue and sales VP there, she shared a story with me because we were talking about this, and they have 30 or 40 hotels, and they're such a great company. And she said to me, she goes, I didn't go to college. She goes, I started at the bottom, and now look what she's doing. She's running,
Right.
She's at the top of a very important hospitality company in New England. And it's very few industries, to your point, that you can walk in the front door in the mailroom and walk out as CEO.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And I think the last thing I would want to add also is just would be a missed opportunity for your audience. I know there's probably a lot of veterans like Anthony in there, but really appreciate everyone's service who's served in the armed forces for our country and everything you've sacrificed and done. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan. We really appreciate you, and we're totally going to have you back on soon. When I mean next year, next year is only in like a month. All right.
From Jenna. Or if the volcanoes are up, then I'll call you for a quick visit to Reykjavik.
Heck yeah, man. Seriously though, we should really try to plan a cool broadcast from one of your locations. That way we could show off the property and all that kind of cool stuff too. All right.
Great. I'll keep you posted.
Right. Perfect.
Good to
Thanks,
see you,
man.
Bob.
Appreciate you.
Thank
See you
you.
soon. All right, Anthony. What a great week this has been, huh?
Yeah, it's fun. Listen,
Yeah.
when you get, I know you've been to a lot more conventions than me, and
Yeah.
you do a lot more of these than I do.
Yeah.
I don't really
Yeah.
enjoy them that much, but I'm starting to enjoy them more because I'd love to see people out and about. So I like going to these conventions now. And I had someone come over to me the other day, pretty high up in one of the brands, and was he literally squared up on me and said, you need to listen to me. I was like, okay. And he's like, what you did for me personally, what you and Glenn did and what the show did, I can't ever repay you, because for a year I was, every day I was struggling.
Wow.
And thank you. And I know you've heard that many, 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 many times. And I just found,
Right.
Another person in the hallway stopped me and said, hey man, I
Right.
listen every day. It's a blessing.
It is.
Like, how do you feel about it? It's a blessing. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm the most grateful person in the world.
Better.
We're just having fun. I don't think
Right.
about it. And just even with Dan, listening to Dan, I just learned how Ian Schrager thinks.
Yeah.
I've been in the room with him and I didn't know how he thought.
Right. Yeah, it's really fascinating, and I feel so blessed and so honored. Like this morning, it's one of the things that I said during my my keynote discussion is how blessed and honored that we are to have been fortunate enough to be in the position we were during those really super dark
Yeah,
days.
and I'm telling you, you're getting so good, bro. You
Thanks,
are so
man.
comfortable up there. And
Yeah,
I was just like,
thanks.
there's very few times where I can be on the stage and I don't I feel like someone can do it better than me, you can do it better.
Thanks.
Than me, by
I
far.
appreciate that. I will tell you what, man. I feel I am at the top of my game, and it is such an amazing feeling after all that we've been through over these last 18 months. But coming on air every single day has just really helped me.
But also, I think you jumped the hurdle of I don't give a shit.
I do,
It's like,
right.
I can see the confidence.
Yeah, man, it's funny. That's the advice I give people who want to be professional speakers. I got held back by myself for so long, but then I had the I don't give a fuck epiphany, and I don't mean it like I don't care. I mean, no matter what happens, nothing is going to be able to ruin my ability to get through it. To the
There's
end.
confidence, right?
Right.
And I think that's the first time you used the F word on the show.
Pretty sure I have both before, but whatever. When I do the podcast version of this, I'll hit the explicit rating. All will be okay. And speaking of being okay, you're going to want to listen to the audio version only of this podcast. Of course, you get that on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Google Play, and all the other good jillion sites that have come up. If you listen to any podcasts, wherever you get them, that's where you can find No Vacancy Live. And of course, if you want to reach out to us, he's at Anthony Hotels, and I'm at Traveling Glenn.
Yeah, people ask me all the time, where can I find you? I said, just type my name in and just put podcast.
Yeah.
600 things will come up.
Yeah, exactly. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. We will be back next week with another great series of shows. Tomorrow night, Friday night at 5 p.m., I've got on Kristen Reynolds. She runs Discover Long Island, so we're probably going to have Long Island iced teas and do all sorts of local stuff since I'm a Long Island boy myself. Tune in for that. We'll see you back here next week. So remember, guys, you've got one life, so blaze on and
Be kind to yourself.
see you all later.